Let's start this program. So up first is my friend John Costello with his presentation, Person-Centered Approach to Communication and Assistive Technology in ALS MND, a clinical guide for patients and clinicians. Please remember to post your questions in the Q&A box on your video screen.
I'm so pleased to be here to share information on this project focused on a person-centered approach to communication and assistive technology. The project is intended to be a clinical guide that is part of the clinical feature matching process to support people living with ALS MND to work in collaboration with clinical team members to really determine the best tools, strategies to support a person through their communication needs. I come from the J.S. Fishman ALS Augmentative Communication Program at Boston Children's Hospital, and here are our team members who've contributed to this project. We're incredibly grateful to our patients and their families who collaborate with us and really have guided us and continue to guide us in our clinical process and have helped us develop and our model and innovations. So why this project? People living with ALS MND are constantly searching for solutions across lots of different resources, the web, support groups, social media, and often are encountering really good marketing from companies. As consumers of new products, all of us are challenged by, we're all victims of really not knowing what we don't know. And so we have to rely on the information that we can find and sometimes think that's the only information out there. Many times clinics and clinicians around the world are not familiar with the broad spectrum of augmentative communication and assistive technology options. We've had patients provide statements to us that really support the need for this project. In this case, someone who had said, I've gone to 3 different pretty famous clinics and none of them have even suggested any of the strategies or tools you've taught me even existed. The person went on to indicate that they had been given a website link. They had been directed to looking at an eye tracking technology, and then went on to indicate that, despite the fact that they're walking and talking and really just beginning to start to have challenges with their hand, they felt like they didn't know that any of the resources were available until we kind of got to introduce them. And went on to say people with ALS need a way to learn what they don't know. A woman just last week had said to me as she was leaving, why have so many people told me I need an eye tracking device? I didn't know what to expect today, but I had no idea that there were so many options available to meet my needs right now. This is a woman who is starting to have challenges with her hands and is having difficulty walking. She said, I thought I had to stop being social. I thought I was not going to be able to get attention at night. And continued to say, everyone with ALS needs to know that there are options that are available, the things that she learned today. And then most powerfully said, I feel like I'm back in control. And the goal for this project is to create a person-centered tool to guide people living with ALS MND to options that they may need to address at the time they are experiencing needs. It's to create a tool that may also serve as a guide to the clinics and the clinicians who may not understand all of the options that are available, but to really help with that feature matching process to support people to be connected with the current and potentially available tools and strategies. And then it's intended to create a tool, a guide that allows people with ALS MND to collaborate with their team members in their clinics, to together be looking at options and tools that are available. This is currently a project that we're focusing just in the US. And why is that? Especially since we began to have conversations with members of the International Alliance, and you see members of the team here. And we very quickly learned that this project that we've been focusing on for quite some time in Boston at Children's is something that as soon as we tried to look at the needs of everyone in all areas of the world, it became much more difficult. Why? Because the resources are different, cultural considerations are different, and funding options are different. So we decided we're really going to focus on creating something that works in our region first, learn from that, and then grow that so that it can be a tool that takes into consideration resources, cultural considerations, and funding options for people with ALS MND around the world. In our ALS Augmentative Communication program, we've really tried to focus on creating a model that matches people's needs and skills at the time they are revealed to available tools and technologies. For that reason, we are trying to model this tool after our clinical model. You can see that there are a number of considerations from the speech-language pathology perspective, looking at communication across the spectrum of communication needs. Also, many considerations for alternative access, physical access to technology that have to be considered from the occupational therapy and physical therapy perspective. In fact, we had put together this visual to really capture the fact that there are so many options that must be considered and that are available and that can really enhance quality of life for people living with ALS MND long before someone needs to use a high-tech system or long before someone may need to rely on, if they ever need to rely on, eye tracking technology. So imagine opening an app on your smartphone and having several options presented to you, those options being communication, computer access, home access, smartphone access. And let's say your questions are related to communication, so you're going to select communication. It's going to take you through a series of questions. The first, are you concerned about the quality of your speech? You see here several potential answers. No, but I want to be proactive. I'm somewhat concerned. I'm very concerned. Or my speech no longer meets my communication needs. Let's explore a few of these. So if I were to select no, I want to be proactive, it will take you then to options for proactive voice preservation. Those options are voice banking, message banking, and double dipping. If I were to select message banking first, it's going to then take me to a page where there will be descriptions of message banking, the entire process. There will be tutorial videos. There is a QR code with downloadable handouts as well as web links. Because many people have told us that they also want to understand functionally implications of using these different strategies. There will be videos of demonstrating the implementation. So in this case, you'll see here.
ALS. Walker, come here, Walker. Walker.
And in the interest of time, I'm going to move on. If someone had selected voice banking, it will then take one to the leading available options for voice banking. From there, there is a table that will compare features, allow one to look at the amount of time, look at the number of recordings required, look at the platforms into which the final product can be incorporated, as well as costs. In addition, there will again be examples of voices created with different products. If someone had suggested that they wanted to look at double dipping, then again, there's going to be a description of what is double dipping. There will be web links to that, as well as, again, video demonstrations.
Thank you for all you do.
Do you think your parents could watch the kids? My family is my everything. I wanted to share with all of you my new synthetic voice.
What if instead someone had stated that, or selected, I'm somewhat concerned about my speech, the quality of my speech? It's then going to take one to a variety of options. I'm concerned about my speech clarity, the volume, the energy, my breath support, or again, I want to start voice preservation. If we select my speech clarity, That then is going to lead us to options to look at specific strategies as well as video demonstrations. So, for example, pacing, breath support, over articulating, as well as looking at quick access strategies. If instead one said, I'm concerned about my volume, then that is going to take us to a page where there is specific information about voice amplification. Again, there's going to be some written information. There are handout links. There is a QR code. There are
The
video
purpose of using a
tutorials.
voice amplifier is to minimize the energy that it takes to speak.
Moving on, if the question is about the energy it takes to speak, then again, one is going to be led to learning about voice amplification. If one were to suggest that as my breath support for speaking, then specific questions about, I want to learn about voice amplification, or I want to learn about backup communication tools, or again, I want to start voice preservation. If it's, I want to learn about voice amplification, then again, it takes you to amplification. If it's, I want to learn about backup communication tools, at this point, we're going to go down a different path and start to look at a variety of strategies, whether they're quick access or high-tech or partnered training strategies or strategies for gaining attention. Let's first choose quick access strategies, which will lead us to a number of options: letter queuing, topic queuing, customized tabbed communication flipbook, writing, or partner-assisted scanning. If we were to select letter queuing, then we will go to a page that will offer us descriptions of letter queuing, downloadable templates, as well as a video tutorial. If we select topic queuing, similarly, there will be a downloadable template and a written description. Customized tabbed communication flipbook will take us to information that describes what that is, a video demonstration of it, as well as specific tutorials on how to develop it. In addition, there's information on guidance for both the communication partner as well as the person with ALS using that communication tool, and a video tutorial on the process
your system gives you
and how to actually set it up and use it. If one were to select writing, then we're next going to be asked questions about writing itself. If one answers yes to difficulty holding a pencil, then one's going to be directed to needing to be working with an occupational therapist, as well as providing some general suggestions about grip and size of writing utensils. If someone says no difficulty, then again, we'll be directed to specific strategies that may be useful, as well as some video tutorials. Finally, if someone indicates that they're interested in partner-assisted scanning, we'll be taken to a page with a downloadable template, as well as a video tutorial demonstrating the use of partner-assisted scanning and how that may be used over time successfully. Selecting voice preservation will take us back to our options regarding voice preservation. If on the breath support page, someone indicates that they're interested in high-tech strategies, they're going to be directed to make selections about interests, tablets, etc. Let's choose tablet for a moment. And one of the big questions is, before we can jump into this, use of hands. Are you able to use your hands easily? If the answer is yes, then one will be taken to specific questions regarding platforms, language systems, accessibility options. Let's jump to integration for a moment. If you're looking at integration of controls within an SGD, maybe one of those integrations is the ability to drive a wheelchair, and there will be video demonstration how that can be done using a communication device. Finally, if we were to go back to the very top and go to computer access, one was going to be directed through specific questions regarding computer access, like, is it hard to use a physical keyboard? If the answer is yes, then there are additional questions. Do you need to reach out to reach your keyboard? If the answer is yes, or if you need assistance understanding what that means, there'll be a video tutorial. If the answer is yes, then there'll be specific directions to keyboards. Moving on, there will be additional recommendations and much, much more detail. The app development that we're doing is planned and to be planning to begin user interviews and develop a wireframe design. Actually, we thought that would be further along than we are right now, but one of the chief engineers on this project had a pretty significant bicycle accident and has been out. We then intend to design, as I indicated earlier, for a local domestic audience, and from there be able to build that out further. The goal is, though, to always have something that is free to all people. The process moving forward, then, we are requiring significant guidance through the process by our patients and their families. The goal is to have an initial tool sometime in late 2022, and then be able to reach out to the Alliance International community for partnerships to grow this so that we have a broader cultural and regional consideration. And I have run out of time and talked very quickly. I apologize for that.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Oh, I got so many chat windows open for questions. That was really, really excellent and fascinating, John. I agree with you. I love the whole idea that there's a spectrum of information between when somebody first says, I have difficulty with blank, and what the final destination is. So, that is excellent. So there are a few questions coming in. Everyone, of course, is asking, will this be available? When is this available? And I know you had mentioned that. But
yes, but I'll reinforce that we are in the very early stages creating a wireframe. As a number of people pointed out in chat, it's really large, and it became so large that it's difficult to kind of lay out in the way I did here, which really does require a wireframe on a tablet of some sort where people can go through. Very early on, also highlighting that the goal, as I said at the beginning, is to have something that is successful and then apply it to everyone, so that it is free and available to everyone everywhere, but it needs to be based on success. So our hope, as I indicated, is that in late 2022, based upon the recovery of the engineer and some of the other resources we're reaching out to, that we will have a starting point for people to look at and provide feedback, both domestically and internationally.
so there are some questions about whether this will be in other languages. And again, I saw that. And then kind of to tie in with that question, I was thinking, in other countries, the other people that you were working with, are they also working on this at the same time in tangent, or is this standalone? So
currently it is standalone, hoping that what we will have is a really good, solid core structure that then can be used, can be translated per the language question as needed, and then can be built out to address regional cultural differences. But I think we all agree that if we don't have a solid starting point, that we could all be trying to do something different and never come to a final product.
yes, absolutely. Yes. And I know from also trying to work through it in a similar manner, where you go from here, there's no straight algorithm that just, it's never, well, I can't do this, so I could do this. It's always kind of scattered. So being able to bring all that together, I think, is absolutely fantastic.
And one of the complexities of it is as well, because, as we were mapping it out, there are lots of spaghetti chart lines going in millions of directions that have to be brought together. And I think that can only be done through using an application.
Yes, absolutely. I think that'll be a great way to do it. And also Lisa has commented that this isn't just going to be helpful for people living with ALS MND, it's going to be helpful for allied health professionals as well.
Absolutely. As I started out the presentation with quotes from a couple of people, and those are just two quotes that happen to capture what dozens and dozens of people have stated, which is their frustration seeing people who are very dedicated, very skilled providers, but who don't know about augmentative communication, and therefore are referring them to the resources that they know, but they may not be the resources the person needs. And so the goal is always with this, that it encourages a collaboration between the person living with ALS and their family and the clinic providers to be investigating together and be really feature matching to people's true needs at the time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. There are a few other questions. If you want to enter the chat after this and answer any of them there, that would be fantastic.
I will do that.
Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, a pleasure.